It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show, where there are two sides to every story. Enjoy the broadcast. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. It's Saturday night. I know you guys have probably had a wonderful day today, and you're ready for some good real talk TV. Well, that's exactly what you're going to get tonight. I want to welcome you. If you are watching from Facebook, thank you so much. Just do me a favor and share. Okay, you guys see that little button that says share? Just share the broadcast, because I want everyone on your page to be able to witness this show tonight and hear these stories. If you're watching from YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. But do me a favor and subscribe. I mean, you're already there, right? So subscribe to my channel. As you can see, I have a full house tonight. So I have women that have agreed to come here and share their stories. Welcome to all of you ladies to the Ella Johnson Show. Yes.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Well, listen, I am so excited to have you guys. All of you answer the call. Thanks to Nakia, Dr. Nakia, who is here on Thursday night. Well, she's the one that brought some of you guys to this broadcast, and I want her always being supportive and bringing her friends to me. So I appreciate that so much. Guys, listen, tonight's show is going to be about domestic violence. The best way to understand domestic violence is understand that it is a pattern of abusive behavior, if you will. And it's a serious problem, especially when you have out of every 4 women that are going to experience it in their lifetime, and then 1 out of 7 men. That's quite a bit. You know, so it's not something that, it doesn't care what color you are, it doesn't care about your race, your religion, your faith, your politics. It happens to you anyway. So by the end of the show, I want you to be able to ask yourself, there are people sometimes do watch these shows and they know they're in a situation. If at the end of the show you have to ask yourself, well, does my man get upset when I wear certain things? Does he get upset if I decide to do a certain thing? And am I afraid to tell him? If you're living in that kind of situation, it's probably not love. More likely, it's control. And that's why we like to bring these shows to you, so that you can make a conscious decision to get out before it's too late. Now, before we go any further, I definitely want to introduce all of my guests to you guys. As you can tell, they are beautiful women. They have been through some things, and they said, yes, Ella, I don't mind coming to your show so I can tell people what it looks like, what domestic violence looks like, because it's not what you think what sexual abuse looks like. So let's introduce. I have Melanda. Melanda right here, smiling with a big smile. She's a beautiful personality. I love it, Melanda. Already, I'm hooked to your laugh. But she is from Atlanta, Georgia. She's a mom of 3, a registered behavioral therapist, and she is a survivor. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Melanda.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, it's all about celebrating each other here tonight, guys. So I want everybody to get involved. Those that are watching, I want you to bring your comments. If you have questions for Melanda or any of the ladies here tonight, I want you to put your questions in the comment box and we'll bring them in. Okay? All right. Then I have Miss Wendy. Miss Wendy is the CEO and director of Butterfly Beauty Pageant. She is a mom of 3, a grandmother of 6, an entrepreneur, and a domestic violence survivor. Thank you and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Miss Wendy.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! Then we have Miss Penny. Penny Glass is a mom of 3 beautiful daughters. She is the quality assurance specialist. She is a survivor of will. I can't wait for the story. It's going to lead. She is also on the brink of an exciting job opportunity, right? Who says domestic violence has to keep you down? So she is changing the game. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Miss Penny.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. And then we have Miss Misha Bird. She is the mother of three kids. All of these ladies had three kids. Nobody. I had six. Right? So I should have stopped at three. No, I'm just she's a mom of three little she's a mother of three kids. She's a graduate of the AAS criminal justice school. She watched her mom denied domestic violence. She watched it. And then she became a victim of domestic violence. But now that she has gone through it, she is even more committed to fight with the fight to break that cycle of trauma by helping other people, being on shows like this and telling her story. Misha, welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. So excited to have
Thank you.
Yay! Well,
Thank you
ladies,
so
I am
much.
so excited. It looks like Carolyn, look at God. She is with us.
Hey, ladies.
Hello.
Yes, Carolyn is from up there in Alabama, guys. She is my homegirl in Troy. She's a mom of three, and her story will move you to tears. I've been following Carolyn for a long time. She's one of those domestic violence survivors that I often talk about. If you've watched my shows, you're like, who is this Carolyn? Who is this Carolyn? Well, she's here in the flesh with us, right? And she's always watching and supporting the Ella Johnson Show. Yes. So welcome, Miss Carolyn. Thank you all so much, so much. I want to jump right in, guys, because we have a lot to cover tonight. Now, one of the things I want to bring this up, because this is a real situation that happened this week or last week. Sha'Carri Richardson was arrested for domestic violence. Okay? Y'all remember this story? Who remembers this story?
I do.
You've heard of it? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I want to do this. I want to share the video with you guys. Oh my goodness. Who's talking to me there? All right. I want to share this so we can see this. This is the TMZ version of what happened. You can see her there. And she's pushing him, trying to talk to him. You can tell he's clearly trying to get away from her. He doesn't want, to have this situation in the airport. And then she pushed him. He's still trying to get away. And she pushed him again. And she's still, minutes later, she's still trying to egg him on, trying to get a conversation from him. I think that's enough. So, I want you guys' opinion of this. She's a woman. Now, we're talking about domestic violence. That's why I wanted to bring this up. She is a female, and she was arrested. 4th-degree domestic violence assault, she was charged. What do you think? You first, Melinda. What do you think?
I think she should be charged. I think when we think about domestic violence, we always think about women, but there are a lot of men that goes through domestic violence and they scared to speak out because they may seem weak, because we believe a man's supposed to take anything, and that's not true. They're human just like us. So I agree.
What about you, Misha? What do you think?
I agree. She needs to be charged. And whatever her sentence is, she's just gonna have to deal with it. Keep your hands to yourself, especially if the person is trying to retreat.
Carolyn, what do you think? She's frozen. Penny, what do you think?
I agree. You don't have a right to just lay hands on somebody in no matter what situation. And that was in a public area, and it made it even worse, in my opinion. So therefore, I believe that she should be charged as well.
And Wendy?
I agree with the charges. That's part of the reason why I do my program. I I don't just do women survivors. I do domestic violence of all types. So it can be a man, a child, a woman, an elderly. And so by all means, that's one of the biggest defenses I have is uh, the fact that men deal with it too. I'm actually
Right.
supporting a reformed abuser in court right now because somebody has turned it around and turned the tables on him instead.
Oh, wow. What about you, Carolyn? What do you think about that, dear?
Well, in her situation, I don't think she needs to be charged. To me, I don't, because I
Why
would have
not?
did the same thing in her situation, and I have been in her situation, huh? Because if you self defending yourself, if I understand what she did, but I haven't followed the story real, that much about it, but I know about the domestic violence because I would have did the same thing.
Okay. Well, I
Hmm.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. So I think what we're gonna do is I want to start with you, Carolyn, because I can tell that you're outside. So I want to definitely get your story in first.
Yeah.
We're gonna start with you, Wendy, but I want to definitely start with
I
Carolyn.
have two of my grandkids out here. I'm watching them, so they out here
Yeah,
playing. So
I know. Look at you.
I'm out here watching them while they're out here.
Okay, so Carolyn, I
Huh?
want you to I want to hear your story. I want to tell everybody you're in Alabama, you have three kids, and you were married to a man who was abusing you. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about what you actually went through with this man.
Oh Lord, it was a nightmare. Really, we was married for like 22 years, and he was an alcoholic. We have three kids. We have two sons and a daughter. Um, he literally just an alcoholic just came in. And I suffer with Parkinson's disease. Really, I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk. And he was literally just come in drunk, take his money when he get paid, and go to the bootlegger house. That we call them bootleggers. To go buy whiskey and beer. He'll get drunk early in the morning going to work and come in and want to fight. He'll punch, hit, whatever he would do. He would go for my head. He'll hit me on my head. I'll be at my computer. He'll just come in. Really, it got worse when the kids got a little bigger. Cause Sammy, he was 18, getting ready to graduate, and I used to go to my mom and dad house on the weekend so he could have the house to himself. I said I just let him have the house to himself. Maybe that'll calm him down. It didn't calm him down. He'll get worse day by day, every day. It was something. It was something. Nothing satisfied him. Come in drunk. The kids would get off the school bus. I literally had them prepared for my death. I used to tell them, y'all know, y'all come home. Mom may not be here. Mom be dead. Cause what triggered me was he would come in want to see the insurance policy. So I'm looking like, what you want to see the insurance policies all the time when you come home? I just want to see them. I'm thinking to myself, okay. But really and truly, he never thought that I would change the insurance policy. I changed them. I put my oldest son on there because he was old enough. He had just turned 18 and he was old enough. His name was Tammy also. So I had the insurance lady to put his name on the policies. And I hid the policies. I hid them up under the rug in my closet, and I showed the kids where the policies and stuff was. And I told them, I said, when y'all come home, your mom may not be here. I may be dead because he's gonna kill me. So had them prepared. Um, he used to come in and want to fight. I used to call the police all the time. I swear to God, we used to call to get help all the time. They wouldn't even come out here and help us. Sometimes they would come and they'll take him, put him in the car, go to his sister's house. They'll let him get in the car with his whiskey and his beer. They'll take him to his sister's house. He'll come right back. We was in pure hell. I, I used to tell the sheriff, I said, y'all need to send some help out here. I said, because y'all not doing it. Every time you send your deputies out here, they take him to his sister's house and he come right back. I said, but we literally need help. And so they said, well, y'all been married so many years, you need to stick with it. So I'm looking like, well, what's the help? You know, used to call. I called over 60 times one day, in one day. And they literally didn't even help us. The only time I got help was when he shot both my sons in our house. But on that day, he my son was in a football tournament and he was out of town. Cause like I said, I had him prepared. I had everything fixed where I said, well, what I was gonna do was my mom and dad house on that Friday, stay the whole weekend. And then that Monday, I was gonna get my dad, take me to the courthouse, and I was gonna file for a restraining order, trespassing, and file for my divorce. He was mad because I wouldn't stop the divorce. So that's what he was mad about. And I told him I wouldn't stop the divorce because he had lost his job. He laid around here for about 3 months without a job. He told me he had got hurt on the job. And that was a lie. I called his boss. And his boss told me, no, we fired him because he got called on the job. That was his third warning. He didn't get hurt on the job. He got fired. So we had to get rid of him. So I asked him, I said, well, when was you going to tell me you lost your job? You know, I said, I can't keep going through this. We got a child finna graduate. He need graduation stuff. I said, we got another son in 11th grade. He'll be a senior next year. And then our daughter. And I said, you're not trying to do anything. The only thing you're doing is taking from the house. So he didn't like that. He asked me to stop the divorce. And I told him I would not stop no divorce because I was tired. The kids was tired. And, you know, I was just done. So me and my neighbor, we was going to do a benefit program, you know, sell plates and stuff on that Saturday and make money for her daughter. We was going to get up early that morning. So that Friday, like I said, he was at a football tournament. I couldn't get in touch with him and let him know we was going to go down to my mom and dad's house to have the coach bring him to the house, down to their house. So I couldn't get in touch with him. So we had no other choice but to stay here and wait for him. So he was in there in a rage. He was saying that it was people out here trying to kill him. People out here in the woods looking in. And just literally just talking out his head like it was somebody out here, but he was trying to keep me from leaving and stuff. But I told him no. I said I still was gonna file for the divorce. So that Friday, it was Saturday morning when my son got home, and I told him, I said, well, he said they had lost the game, and I told him, I said that's okay. I said y'all win next year. So he told me, he said, Mom, you know, you said you'll support us in everything that we do. And he said, I decided I want to go to the service. I said, well, that's good. I said, whatever y'all decide to do, that's y'all career and stuff. He said, yeah. He said, and then when I come back, I'm gonna have a house. I'm gonna build you a house, but I'm coming back to get my brother. And when I come back and get my brother, when he graduate, I'm gonna have you a house built. You and my sister, and y'all won't have to worry about nothing. I'm gonna get you out of here. I told him, okay. I said, whatever he decide. So we was joking around. So Shaheen came in and he said, I bet you, Sammy, you didn't even try to run. Them folks just knocked you on down. You know, joking like brother's supposed to joke. So we was in there just laughing and joking. He said, no. He said, but I brought you something. He had a hamburger. He said, I brought you a hamburger. He gave him a hamburger. So while we was in there talking, he came back in. I heard something say, boom. He said, come in the room. He said, oh, mama, you going to be mad at me. I said, mad about what? He said, oh, the microwave. I blowed up the microwave. I said, what? He said, I blowed up the microwave. And Sammy said, you blowed up the microwave. He said, did you not take the aluminum foil off? And he said, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to have did that. And I said, yeah. So I said, let me go ahead and check it out. So we went in the kitchen. I said, boy, this microwave ain't messed up. So I said, look, it still works. So by that time, they was over there joking. I said, y'all better hurry up. I said, because we got to go get the stuff for the cookout so we can sell the plates. I said, because your granddaddy and your grandma will be up here soon. So we was in there joking around. They was over there at the stove over there trying to cook. So they was joking around like saying, you can't cook. Shaheen said, you can't cook either. So Shakira, she was sitting at the table. She was small. She was like 13 at the time. She was sitting at the table. So I'm standing there with my back turned toward the door with not paying no attention. I was on the phone. So I seen them just move toward the back door, just stand up and move. All of them move. So I'm looking at them like, what y'all moving for? So they was telling me, Mom, look. So I really wasn't paying them any attention. So They said, Mom, look. I said, what? They said, Mom, look. So when I turned around, he had the baseball bat at my head. And I told him, I said, what you think you finna do with that bat? He said, you can get it. All y'all can get it. And he said, that's what I'm finna show y'all. So I told the kids, I said, y'all turn the stove off. And I told them, I said, y'all go in y'all rooms, because they rooms on the back side of the trailer. And I said, y'all go in y'all rooms and whatever y'all hear, don't come out. I said, y'all promise me, don't y'all come out them rooms. They said, we won't. So by the time they made it in their rooms, my daughter, she had a tablet because she was always here when the domestic violence started. She was always here with me and the boys wasn't. So when she went in her room, she already had the police on the phone. So when I got toward the walkway, I heard him say, click, click. And I said, oh my God. I said, he getting the gun. So I ran in my daughter's room and I told her, I said, let me have the phone. I told the 911 operator, I said, look, I said, y'all need to send us help out here. I said, he getting weapons. I said, we really need some help. So by that time, I heard Dre, Shaheen, and he called their names again. I said, oh my God. I said, he called the boys out the room. So I said, oh my God. I told it, I said, hurry up. I said, he called my boys out the room. I said, they out there. And he said, I heard Sammy say, Dad, don't do it. So I heard a click, click. He said, Dad, please don't do it. And by that time, I heard a gunshot. I told the lady, I said, oh my God. I said, he done shot my son. Then I heard another gunshot. So by that time, I heard our front door open up and he done left out the house. So I told my daughter, I said, no matter what, I said, you lock this door behind me and don't you come out. I said, no matter what, whatever you hear, you stay in this room. I said, lock the door and Mom will be back. When I stepped out and walked around, I saw Sammy laying on the ground, ran face down. And I said, oh my God. I said, he shot him. I said, oh my God. I said, what'd he do it for? I laid on the floor with him. I said, Sammy. I said, Dre. That's what we used to call him, Dre. I said, Dre. I said, Dre. I said, don't leave Mom. I said, don't leave me. I said, don't leave us. I said, you have too much to do. I said, you got a lot to accomplish. I said, please don't go. I said, Mom, here. I said, Mom, right here beside you. So by that time, Shaheen came back in the house. He said, Mom, go in the room. He said, Mom, go in the room. And I said, no. I said, your brother need help. I said, your brother's shot. I said, your brother needs some help. I said, I can't leave him out here. I said, I can't leave your brother. He said, Mom, go in the room. Dad coming back. So I said, Dre, I said, don't worry. I said, Mom will be back. I said, don't worry. I said, help coming. I said, Mom got you. I said, Mom got to see about your brother and sister. I said, help is coming. We had to run in Shakira's room because her room was closest to the door. We ran in her room. Shaheen was shot. I said, oh my God. I said, you shot too. I was in shock. So he lifted up the window and he asked, he said, Dad, don't you come back in this house. He said, I'm not. He said, you shot me and you shot my brother. He said, I'm not coming back in the house. He said, you called for help. He said, yeah. He said, help is coming. So by that time, his dad left off the porch, walked back up the road. Shaheen looked up when he said, Mom, he said, don't y'all worry. He said, I'm going to get help for you, my sister, and my brother. He said, I promise you, I'm bringing help back. He said, don't y'all worry. He said, he jumped out Shakira's room, out of her window, when they got us some help. I ran back in there with Sammy Wood. I said, Dre, I said, baby, please don't leave. I said, don't leave Mama. I said, Mama needs you. I said, don't leave. I said, you got so much to accomplish. You're 18. You got the service you're going to. You got to graduate. I said, you got all your stuff that you say you want to do, you finna make it. I said, please don't leave. So I just laid on the floor, rubbing his head. I said, Mom, love you. I said, don't go. I said, please don't go. So by that time, the police, the ambulance folks, all of them came rushing in. They told me I had to leave out the house. I said, no. I said, I can't leave him. I said, he's not going to know where I'm at. I said, I can't leave my child in here. I said, he shot my son. I said, he shot both of my child. I said, he shot them. I said, what he do it for? I was just begging. I said, Lord, I said, I need him. I said, don't let my child die. I said, I need him. I said, please help. I said, I asked y'all for help. I said, I begged y'all for help. Y'all didn't help us. I said, I told y'all he was going to kill us. I said, I tried to tell y'all. I said, y'all never brought us any help. Y'all never gave us help. So by that time, I came outside and they literally forced me out. Everybody was here. I'm looking like, Lord have mercy. I said, what he do it for? I said, he shot him. I said, he begged for his life. He asked me not to do it. By that time, the sheriff came and the ambulance was out there. They said, well, you need to go to the hospital. I'm asking him, I said, hospital for what? They said, Shaheem needs you. I said, oh, I said, what's wrong with Shaheem? They said, he shot too. I said, oh my God. I said, he shot him too. I was in literally shock. And by the time they brought his body out my front door, I ran to the ambulance. I said, oh Lord. They said, he's gone. He said, your son has died. I said, oh my God. I said, he killed him. I said, my God. I said, what did he do it for? I said, he had no reason to kill my child. I said, it didn't matter. I said, he could have took me. I said, but he killed my child. So by that time I got to the hospital, went in. They said they were waiting on me to do surgery on Shaheem. So I had to walk in there and tell him that his brother was gone. He said, Mom, he said, where's my brother? And I looked at him. I said, he didn't make it. He said, my brother died. I said, yeah. He said, Mom, what did he do it for? He said, Dad had no reason to shoot us. I said, I know. I said, but now, I said, your brother's fine. I said, God got your brother. I said, I told him to go with God. I said, God has him. I said, right now we got to make sure you're okay. I said, you got to have surgery. I said, but your brother is fine. So when they did surgery on Shaheem, brought him out of surgery, I had to sit there and just think about it. I said, Lord have mercy. I said, I got to bury my child. I said, what did he do it for? And so they caught him up the road. They said when they got him went up the road, he was laying out, walking up and down the road. They said they didn't know who they was looking for. They said they saw a man walking down the road. He stretched out. He said, I'm the one you looking for. He laid out on the ground and they handcuffed and put him in the police car. He said, the policeman said, you know, if y'all weren't getting along, y'all should have separated. So he said, I want to leave my house. All he was worried about the house. I want to leave my house. I didn't call y'all. They called y'all. So he said, well, tell us what you did with the gun, the weapon. Well, he told him, he said, you go down this dirt road, like 310 feet, go in the gravels, go around to the right, and go back 5 trees back, and that's where the weapon is. And that's where exactly where he had left the gun at. He had already went up to the neighbor's house and told them that they would never see him again. He'll be gone for a long, long time because he had just shot both of his sons, and one would never play football again because he's dead. And they said, what you mean? He said, I shot both of my sons. He'll never play football again. And they thought he was joking, but they said they watched him walk down the road and come back. And so they said they didn't realize until they seen all the police cars and stuff. So at my son's funeral, I went up by myself. I told him, I said, you go with God. I said, Mom, love you forever. I said, you go with God. Your mom got this. And I said, your death won't be in vain, but Mom got this. And I told him, I said, you go with God, and I love you. And I told him to close his casket down. I kissed him, and I told him to close it down. And I fought all the way to the trial. He stayed out 2 years walking around. No bond. His sisters and brothers and stuff, they got him out on bond. He pleaded crazy insanity. And I fought. I fought to get him convicted because I told him he was not crazy. I said, he's not crazy. I said, he's crazy. And they gave him life for the murder of Sammy, and they gave him 25 years for the attempted murder of Shaheem. So he had to do them back to back, and he's in prison right now. But
So
it was
Carolyn,
just a mess.
how are
Even the sheriff said he knew it.
yeah. So
Hmm?
Carolyn, how are you? You told that story. I listen, every time you tell the story, I just can't. It That's why I love this woman, and I have been with her since she came to the Ella Johnson show. And that's why I like you to come back, because people need to hear your story. And we're gonna come up
Yeah,
with
everybody asked me.
yeah.
Mhm. Everybody asked me how I did it. I told them I had no other choice because I had 2 other kids with me,
That's
and I had faith in God. I knew Dre was gone with God because I had him in church. They knew God. They had faith in God. I had faith in God. And if I broke down, Shaheem and Shakira didn't have nobody. Who was gonna see about Shaheem and Shakira? Nobody. Nobody but their mom. I'm
Carolyn,
their
are you
mom. I have to see
still
about them. I can't break down. I can't.
Carolyn, are you
Huh?
still living in that house where he was killed?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
And
Yeah, I
you hear
am.
we hear Carolyn's story, and I just want anybody that's out there that's watching this broadcast to come to her aid. She actually needs a new home still, right, Carolyn? Yeah.
To my roof. Oh yeah. I have my roof completely gone. I have I put buckets and everything in my house to catch the water. I have a big hole inside my roof. We try to stop the water from coming in. It's still I have a wall where the water is draining down inside the wall. It's busted loose. Um it's a disaster. My rugs are gone and it's a mess, but it's a home. It's a
So how do
home.
you
I still have a roof over there.
when you walk over that spot where your son was killed, like what does that do to you?
It reminds me of what happened. I try my best not to go in that area because it brings back memories.
I bet.
It does. It does because he should be still be here. He has nieces and nephews. He has 10 nieces and nephews that he has not met. And they asked me who's this on the picture. I said that's y'all uncle. And sometimes I cry and not let anybody see me cry because I know he's I know
There's
he's
Dre, guys, right there
watching
in the
over.
black. Dre is the one in the middle, the larger picture. That's Dre.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the son that was killed.
hmm
The
yeah,
other one is the one that was shot, but he survived.
hmm
And then there's her daughter. And this is what she has to look.
but yeah, that's him. I did try to go to therapy. I had Shaheem and Shakira in therapy, but I never got it. Because I said I put all my trust and faith in God, and I know He'll carry me through and stuff. But it's hard, I think about him now that Shaheem and Shakira are out on their own. They have their own houses, their own homes and stuff. Sometimes, all my kids, cause like I said at his funeral, I
Yeah,
had 3 kids and
yeah,
I left one behind. And that's one thing I didn't do. I kept all my kids together. And
yeah.
then on
You
that
did.
day at their funeral, I couldn't let him go because I'm leaving a child behind. And I had 3 of them,
Yeah.
you know. hmm
Well,
And
Carolyn,
it's real hard, but I try to
yeah,
get through. But yeah, it's a home. I still have someone to lay my head at. People, it's falling loose and everything, but it's still mine. hmm
does anyone have any
Yeah.
questions? Because I want Carolyn, because I know it's getting dark where she is. I want you to get inside so you can be safe. Does anyone have any
hmm
questions, anything they'd like to say to Carolyn before she goes?
hmm
I just want you to know that you're amazing. Okay, to go through what you've been through and to be able to tell your story. Thank you. I stayed in tears the whole time, and I've never been
hmm
through that. And I just, the strength, the courage, the love for your children. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. hmm hmm
Well, I
That's the thing that I want to say is thank you for being that strong mom because uh, your story kind of ties to my story. That was my first time of abuse. Was my mom
hmm
had to stay in a home to protect my brother and I from a shotgun.
hmm
You're an amazing woman. I'm sure that your son looks down and knows that you're the angel that has stayed by his side. And I pray God
hmm
gives you the strength to continue and that someone blesses you with a new home.
Thank you. I have faith in God. I'm gonna get that new home. I'm gonna get it.
all
Amen.
right, all right, Carolyn.
Yeah, I have
Well,
faith.
I
I,
love you, dear. Be in touch.
I love y'all too, and I'm glad to be on and tell my story. And I'm still in the same place and everything. Anybody have any questions, they're welcome to inbox me on Facebook or anything, and I'll be glad to answer any question y'all have.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good night. Love you. Talk to you later.
You too. I love you too, Ella.
All right, dear. Good night.
Bye, ladies.
Wow. So this is why we do this show. Because there are people that are watching this podcast who may be in a situation where they don't know if they want to leave. This is why you leave. Because he didn't go after her. He did. He was beating her. Now, I know you guys heard her tell her story, but part of it is that he used to beat her while she was in the wheelchair. And she didn't get to part of her story. She was healed from that. God told her one day to get up and walk. Just get up out of that chair. And she trusted him and got up. So she was in a wheelchair getting beaten. So I wanted to bring her on this show because I've followed her, been friends with her ever since she came on my show, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I just, I was even trying to help get her somewhere. I did a video and sent it out to different people, but we didn't get any response. So if you guys that are on this broadcast or anyone watching, and you have some contacts that can reach out and help her family, because I've seen the condition of the trailer that she's in. I've seen it, the pictures and videos and stuff. So I know, and that was 4 or 5 years ago when I looked at it. So I can only imagine. Can you imagine getting up every day and living in the same house that your son took his last breath? So, woo! Now we're going to talk to Miss Wendy. She's like, yeah, okay, Ella.
No,
So,
her story is exactly why
yes.
I do what I do. It's exactly why I honor the women and the men that I do. Because those stories don't get out there enough.
Yeah.
The fact that she still has to go through that. And here's the worst part. The question, why do you stay? Why do you stay always seems to come to about when they approach a survivor. Not, why didn't someone get you out? Not, why didn't someone come to your rescue? You heard that, right? So here are the logistics. I'm in Houston, so it's a big hub for domestic violence right now. We as a matter of fact, we were discussing the domestic violence case with the young lady in the airport, and we just had a police officer arrested for domestic violence in our area.
Oh, wow.
It's a case that's going on right now, and it's something that's not brought to attention too much because the police officers really have a choice. As she said, they're like, you've been married for so long, why don't you just, stick it out? But how long had she been living with that? It took my mother almost 5 years to get out with us.
Right.
And then it felt like an eternity of running for the rest of our lives. And no person should have to feel like that. Amen. Nobody should have to worry about whether they're being pushed to engagement and whether they're being pushed to defend themselves. And sometimes that's what it comes to, is they get pushed to the point of defending ourselves.
Exactly. Instead of the attention being on the person who's abusing, you tend to spend more time. And that's a good point, Wendy, that you bring out. And I think that's the reason a lot of people don't talk about their stories, because of the judgment that follows.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important for people to listen, don't sit there being in that situation because you're worried about what someone's going to think of you. No, save yourself, run. So Wendy, let's talk about your beauty pageant. Wendy is a CEO and founder of Butterfly Queen Pageants. She has an event that's coming up. Tell everybody we know why you're doing them, but tell everybody what they're about, how they get involved, and what it's all about.
So the only way you can become part of the Butterfly Queen pageant is to actually be a survivor. The pageant is 100% sponsored by my family and the community. And I say the community because there are several people that help make donations available. They give gifts, they give gowns, they give suits, they give crowns. I have pageant queens that go in their closets left and right, and they pull out their crowns that they used to have that they've set so proudly up. Matter of fact, I have one that's getting donated this year.
Nice.
They're nice and beautiful. They have a sash person who actually makes the sashes. So the sashes are like an actual pageant queen. Now I have the queen here, but I also have kings. I don't limit it to queens. It is an all-inclusive pageant. It is all-inclusive for every type of domestic violence. And this is I believe it's our 4th year. This year we're doing a little bit of an honoring. As you see in the flyer, the young lady in the teal dress was my co-founder. She also was a survivor. And cancer took her this year, but she is the reason why I started the pageant. She floated me this idea. She says, "You do so well with events and pageants. How about we combine it with what you do for survivors?" And so her and I brainstormed. And amazingly, Miss Penny has actually been involved in the pageant ever since it started. She was one of the donors the first year. And she actually received her crown and sash last year.
Yay!
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
She also got to share some of her story, which is what I encourage. I want survivors to know that their story, their testimony means something, that it is important. Too many times voices are held over. Her son, Dre, does not have the ability to stand up for his voice, but she can. And so that's what I encourage my survivors to do, is I encourage them to go out, tell your story. The more times you tell your story, the less hold the abuser has on you. It's hard how we do ourselves, right? You always tell yourself you're your worst critic. Well, sometimes we're our ones that forget to forgive ourselves. And so that's what I'm doing, is to help to encourage them to not only to forgive themselves, but to do the hardest thing, which is to forgive the abuser. Because part of our...
How do they sign up, Wendy? Because I would love to see Carolyn be a part of that. I think it would do so well.
So here you go. You just nominated her. That's how easy it is. So you and I can talk to make arrangements to somehow get her to Texas or to get me to Alabama, whichever it is. And I will take a crown. As a matter of fact, we'll call this hers. We will take this crown and this sash. And actually, she has a son and a daughter that are in that same thing with her. So it would be a family affair. It wouldn't be just Carolyn. But I would also crown and sash her daughter and her son. We would lavish them with gifts. We'd try to get the community involved as much as possible because they need to know what's going on. You know, we need the support. The community needs to know that they can help. You know, there's been too many times that people go, "Well, I didn't even know."
Right.
There are triggers. There are signs. There are red flags. When we bring those to light, it gives the ability for others to see.
That's right.
The ability to testify and give testimony shows that not every survivor ends up as a victim. See, too many times people go, "Oh, well, she was a victim of domestic violence." No, not if she's standing in front of you. Because if she is standing in front of you, she is an overcomer. She is a survivor. She is not a victim. We are not
Right.
victims. The only victims are those that we have lost. So our thing is to honor them. I've also given honorary crown and sash to a mother who lost her daughter to domestic violence, because there is an included too, because families deal with it. And with this, we give them the ability to go out and tell their story, to bring an emphasis to it, to spotlight the need for the help to it, to spotlight the fact that it still goes on. Here is the thing. My mother did not share her story except for with our family. She did not share it publicly because of the shame and the guilt and the things that come with it. When it finally came down and her and I had named my nonprofit and we did all these things, she finally started speaking up, which gave her the ability to be able to give the forgiveness in our belief that we have to give. Because in my belief, if God is to forgive me, then I have to forgive all those.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
one of the hardest things I had when I first started was the person said, "What is the hardest thing?" And I said, the hardest thing I ever had to do was to forgive my abuser. That was my hardest thing.
Yeah.
To forgive the abuser. And I've had more than one. I've over a handful, including the hand of my mother who was in on it, because she did not protect and she helped harm instead because of brokenness. So instead of allowing that to happen, we wanted to make a positive influence on it. So we brought an instance to hurt people, but love doesn't have to hurt, and it shouldn't hurt in any style or fashion. And here's the amazing thing. When forgiveness is given, then joy can flood in, because then God can fill you up because you've let go of those things. Yeah. So when we teach the forgiveness, it also allows the opening gate for reform. And when I say reform, guess what? 7 to 8 out of 10 abusers learned that lesson from someone. Learned that behavior, got taught that behavior, was part of the behavior. They become bullies in school because why? Because their dad bullied them. Yeah. They become the abuser because that's all they've seen. That is their, I don't want to say norm. It's their lifestyle. It's not even the norm. It's the actual lifestyle. They're bred. Women are to stay in the kitchen with the children. Women aren't allowed where the men are. Women are a piece of sexual object. Women aren't allowed to do these things like this. And how dare you turn around and talk back to me because I am the man. I am the enforcer. I am the person. But the greatest thing is to see one of those turn around and go, I was the monster. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve that kind of, I don't deserve love. I don't deserve life. I don't deserve. But to be able to say, yes, you do.
Right.
That is an amazing feat.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, Wendy. And like I said, guys, I brought up the flyer for you. It's going to be September 27th. And I am excited to announce that the Ella Johnson Show will be there.
Yes.
Live. Yes. I am excited. I can't wait to love on all of the survivors, beautiful women and the men, whoever shows up there. I'm looking forward to it, Wendy. So we'll get together because I really want to see Carol and get involved in this, whatever we have to do, the Ella Johnson Show. to get her there, let's work together to do that. All
I
right.
I would absolutely love that. So that means although we have 10 women and 5 men this year, next year we've already got 2 young ladies and a gentleman.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
Because that will
So,
be Miss Carolyn and her daughter and her son.
all right. I love it. Well, Miss Melanda is here, guys. So I want to jump in so we can hear her story as well. Now, Melanda, your story starts 2020.
Yes.
This guy, tell us how you met him.
So we actually met, I don't know if you heard of the gas station Wawa's in Richmond, Virginia. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of
And
we have it in Florida, yes.
yeah. So we met there at the gas station there. When I first met him, he was just as sweet as he could be, and then he just switched up on me.
Aren't they all? Like what set him apart? What made him so special and so different?
He was very outgoing. Very
Okay.
outgoing. I don't know, with him it was just like he made me feel special. Like I was the only one. Well, I thought I was the only one. And that's what set him apart.
And so you guys ended up getting together. And then when
Yes.
did you see the other side of him?
After he proposed.
Ooh. So after he proposed and before marriage, you saw the ugly side?
Yes. I actually left a month before marrying him.
So you didn't marry him.
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
okay. Okay. So what kind of stuff did he do, dear? Like what did you see?
Well, at first he started like trying to withdraw me from everybody. I remember one time my friend wanted me to go out with her, and he had just told me he was about to go out. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go out with my friend. And then all of a sudden he come in the kitchen and he's hugged up on me. He was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna go out. I think I'm gonna just stay home. And then eventually he started doing it more. It was one time, excuse me, I was supposed to go to my grandmother's house and he hid my shoes. I had to end up Ubering to my grandma's house with no shoes.
What?
Yes.
Is that to try to keep you from going?
Yes. 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 And
Did he ever
then,
put it on you?
yes, it increased. He started um, calling me names. He started putting his hands on me. He took out an AK-47 on me one day.
Ooh.
And the
What was
thing
he
that got
saying?
me,
The gun out. What was he saying?
he would call me the B word. He would tell me that I'm worthless. Don't nobody love me but him and stuff like that. Yeah. And what really got me with the AK-47 situation, he had a daughter and she just sat there like it was normal. It really bothered me. She sat there, she was on the phone. I'll never forget it. And I didn't even know he had the AK-47 in the house. When I left, I found out he had a total of 10 guns in his possession. And they was all around the house. Didn't even know it.
So you didn't realize
Yeah.
how much danger you were living in.
No, I
God.
didn't.
But God, girl.
Yes, but God. But God. I had a dream one night. I'll never forget it. I was laying on a hospital bed and he was on the phone with my mother. And my mama just kept saying, what did you do to my daughter? What did you do to my daughter? And he kept saying, I didn't mean to. She just made me so angry. He was rubbing his head. He was on the phone with her. And I woke up at 3 something in the morning. For some reason, he wasn't even in the bed next to me. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to get out. So I was up half the night. I said about 6 o'clock in the morning, I got a text message hadn't told nobody about the dream yet, from a pastor that I know. And she was like that God told her to text me and tell me things are about to get scary, but he's going to protect me through it all. And it did. My grandma had to end up leaving her house. It got real bad. I had to leave the state of Virginia. Yeah, it got real bad.
Did he ever in the hospital? Did you ever end up in the hospital?
I can't hear you. It's breaking
Did
up.
you ever end up in the hospital as a
I never
result?
ended up in the hospital. I think that was a warning because people tell you, okay, Melinda, you might need to leave this one alone and everything. And it was one time that I did leave and I went back. And I had an aunt that asked me, after I left, she was like, what made you go back? Because when I went back, he got worse.
You're not the first one to go back. Just about every
Hmm.
story of people that sit here, every
Hmm.
single person goes back. It's
Yeah.
what I think is love. You know,
Hmm.
it's no judgment, sweetheart. No judgment whatsoever. It's just what people do. They go back because they think it's love, and you got to
Yeah.
stick. And some people do it for religious reasons. So,
Yeah.
at what point? I mean, did your family? What was your family saying? Who did you have in your corner at that time that was like that was there for you? Who?
My family was there for me, especially my grandmother. I eventually, tried to leave him alone. I will never forget the first day that I was at my grandma's house. He was blowing up my phone. He asked me to go outside. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I just did not go outside. And I remember my grandmother was like, the story that he told you about his oldest child mother. My grandma was like, I really believe that was him. And she was shot. She was holding a baby. She was shot coming out the house, and they don't know who did it. Yeah. So yes. So my grandma, I told my grandma for some reason I didn't want to go outside. And I just told him to just leave me alone. Later on that night, he came by my grandma's house and tried to break in. So we called the police. The police was like, you need to get a restraining order. We go get the restraining order. I had my oldest daughter father at the house. My sister was at the, my no, my sister took me. And my oldest daughter called me and she was like, Mama, is that you? And I was like, no, we're in the neighborhood. And her dad, she was like, Dad just jumped up with the gun. We seem to think he shot at the house that night.
Oh my God.
Yes. So the cops came. I gave them a restraining order. They went to go serve it, but they was like he wasn't at home. And he came by. He would always come by at night, and it was to the point that I wasn't sleeping. One night, me and my grandma packed the kids up. We went to my aunt's house, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. So what ended up happening was I ended up talking to my mom. My mom had just moved to Texas, and my mom was like, Melinda, just come here, because she was getting scared to the point that she thought she was going to have to bury a child. And I was like, okay. So me and my kids packed up. Texas is a 24-hour drive from Virginia. I drove it straight through. I drove it straight through. I don't know if it was just adrenaline rush.
Adrenaline? Yeah, like it for sure. Adrenaline.
Yes. And so I get to Texas and he's texting me from different numbers and then he threatened my grandma. So I had to tell one of my aunts, I was like, look, because my grandma, she was like, I'm not leaving my house. She was like, the good Lord can protect me. I told one of my aunt went there and she spent the night with her. She was like, well, he didn't come by. Then he sent a message and was like, it'll be bad if you have to come here for a funeral. So eventually one of my aunts talked my grandma into moving in with her. So we got her out that situation. After that, he would try to contact me like every now and then, like on birthdays and stuff like that. And then eventually I got a phone call from Richmond PD about a year later saying that he was arrested he kidnapped somebody. Yeah, he kidnapped somebody. People said the girl looked like me. He kidnapped the girl. and he put her in the back of his trunk. He did a lot of crazy stuff to her and everything. So he's in jail.
He didn't kill her though. He just
He didn't kill her.
but
No.
he's in jail now.
Yeah.
Gosh. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
When stuff like this happens,
Mm-hmm.
the rationale when he did it the first time, his
Mm-hmm.
rationale, well, maybe it's never gonna happen again, or did you make excuses for him? Like, oh, he was just tired and stressed, and maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Did you make excuses for his behavior?
I made excuses because he had a very rough childhood. Very rough. Um, if because at the time I was working with boys that have mental illnesses. If I would have known some of the stuff that he went through was one of the boys, because I didn't know everything until I got into it. So, but one of the boys that was at the place where I was working at the time, he went through a lot of abuse, and he ended up ending that abuse himself. He ended up hurting the person that abused him. Some of the stuff that boy went through, my ex went through.
Like what?
Being locked in the closet, being burnt with cigarettes, stuff like that. He went through a lot of physical abuse.
Wow. And so that's why you felt you were
Mm-hmm.
to call the cops. He needed help. And
Yeah.
I tell you, I would love to interview people that have abused
Mm-hmm.
women. I really would. I would love for one to feel safe enough, which you would be safe. No one would judge you on the show. To
Yes.
and get because we all need help. Yeah,
Yes.
we all
Mm-hmm.
need help. And I understand your rationale to make excuses and try to make it better. Did you ever think he was going to kill you
Yes.
because he
Yes.
kill you?
He had threatened to kill me. He had told me that if I would leave him, that he would kill me and the person that I left him for. He
And you
used to
would,
threaten to kill me all the time. Hmm.
oh my gosh. But you made it out.
Yes.
What would
By
you
the
say
grace
to
of God.
someone that is trying to help them, feeling sorry for them because they went through a rough childhood? What would you say to them?
They not gonna change. It's what they know. Like, I'm studying psychology now. Some things are embedded in people. Even if they go to counseling, counseling can help, but it's not gonna totally take away the behavior. So the best thing to do is get out. Get
Get
out while
out.
you still can.
Ooh. Well, thank you so much for that. I want you to stick around.
Yeah.
We're going to ask you guys some more questions at the end. But we're going to
Okay.
move on to Miss Penny now. I think we're doing great on our time, guys. I want to make sure that you hear all these stories tonight. So, Penny, Penny, Penny. You know, when I hear that name, Penny, I think about that song, Penny for Your Thoughts. Who else remembers that song? Penny for Your Thoughts? Nickel for, wait a minute, what is it? What's Nickel for a Kiss?
I
Diamond.
didn't even know it was a song, but I've heard it all my life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Listen, I just aged myself big time. But anyway,
I'm gonna have
so
to listen
your
to the song
story
now.
is very different because you endured sexual abuse at 10 years of age. That's where her nightmare began. Tell us what you were doing that was good at 10 years of age, and then we're going to talk about the sexual abuse. At 10, what kind of person was you? I mean,
I'm trying to think of what grade I was in at 10. What is it, about third
maybe
grade? I'm thinking it's about third grade.
third grade. Yeah.
So in third grade, I had entered a McGrath crime, the crime dog. What's his
I
name?
remember that.
McGrath. I entered a logo contest and I won first place with Stop, Lock, and Go. I know you have Stop, Drop, and Roll. It was before all of that. I think I'm the one who started that little, regardless. I won first place in a contest drawing just a picture and got to stand in the winner's circle at Michigan International Speedway and got to meet Mario Andretti in person. That was my fondest, best memory of that time.
Okay. And so, as a young child, you were home. Were you living with your mom, dad? What was your family makeup like at home?
So it was my mom, my stepdad, two of his nephews, and my two brothers. So I have two brothers.
So you had a house full.
Yes. And I don't remember much, but a lot of my cousins said they came for months at a time over the summer, spring breaks. I don't remember much of that. I remember them coming to visit, but that was about it. I didn't realize it was for months at a time.
So introduce us to the first time that someone touched you who introduce us to that.
So my mom was taking care of, my grandparents got real sick with cancer, and they didn't live close. She drove probably 4 hours, and she'd leave on Monday and come back on Friday and be home on the weekend. Sometimes she wouldn't come home on the weekends, and we'd go there. Being the only girl, I stepped up and had to cook. I had to clean. I had to do laundry. I was in a small town in Michigan at the time. Now I live in Texas as well. We had a 2-story house, meaning basement and first floor. It wasn't first floor plus second floor. And I couldn't tell you how many times different people, I'd go down to do laundry, one would come down and start touching me brutally. I tried to get away and they'd push me around. There was threats, if I said anything to my mom, she would hate me. And that was my person, And at first it was just one person. And then I remember with my stepdad, I started developing, and mom wasn't home. And for some reason, he thought he had to take and get me fitted for a bra, or it was he was going to fit me for a bra. And his started with breasts. The boys, I'm seeing all 4 of them, it was just touching at first, and then it got more physical, more threats, more, if you tell mom, this is going to happen. And it continued. We went from, I think we moved probably 4 or 5 times. And eventually my stepdad's nephews left the house. And I don't remember what age I was because it still continued. There was still 3 people. And then some of the friends got involved and they were doing stuff. And I don't know how everybody knew what everybody was doing, or if they just else, I don't know. I don't know to this day if it was planned. It's one of those things you don't talk about, what happened in your house. And even to this day, you're not supposed to talk about it. It was something that happened in the past. You're supposed to leave it in the past. And when I have triggers or when something happens, then that's what I get told, that happened in the past. Why are you bringing it up? That's your problem. You live in the past. It's not that. I want to figure it out. I want why CPS was sent to our house and they were sent home or sent back each time. I didn't know that CPS was coming to the house. I have an aunt that, not aunt by blood, but we had a long conversation a couple years ago, and she said she knew something was happening. She was calling CPS. She was trying to get help for me, but they kept getting sent away. They were being lied to, or, and it doesn't surprise me because I was getting lied to. When I wasn't in the house, or I remember I was telling Miss Ella, the first house when it first started, there was the bathroom and a bedroom next to it. The shower was next to a closet. Okay. They would dig the caulking out from around the fixtures of the shower so they could see from in the closet into the shower. There was times when I saw them peeking through the bathroom window. I would take bubble gum and fill those holes and they would end up empty again. And I'd say, why is this happening? Why is somebody keep doing this? And it was like I was being ignored, but it wasn't from my mom because she didn't know. So 2 weeks before my 18th birthday, I just had enough. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I left my mom's house and I went and lived with a friend of mine. She had the 3-story. She had the basement, the main floor, and then upstairs was her bedroom and her kids' bedrooms. And she let me stay in her basement. So I had a mattress on the floor down there. for my 18th birthday. We threw a little party. I got a little drunk. I went downstairs to bed. And one after another, I remember one of my brother's friends coming down, and there was two of them, I'm sorry, one and then another, come down and rape me. And I think it was 2 days later, my mom had picked me up from school, and she was so angry. She was so angry because I had sex with these two guys. And then I told, I broke down and I started crying, and I said, Mom, I didn't have sex. It wasn't something that I gave permission.
Right.
And honestly, that day, my brother broke one of his friend's shoulders, and the other one, I guess, got mad at him or whatever, but they still talk to this day. There was never anybody to protect me through it all. And my biggest thing is I want girls to know it's not okay. You don't have to go through that abuse. Boys too, because I know it happens to boys too, but they don't have to go through it. But there's nothing that protects us either. There's nothing that protects that kid when they go to a counselor. I remember when I was in high school, before I switched schools, I went to a counselor and I was talking to her. And it was just, she was first my English teacher, and I went to the counselor. And she knew my story. She called the counselor at the next school before I went, and she told her my story. But there was nobody to protect me. Small towns, CPS had been out there.
Yeah.
CPS was lied to over and over and over again.
So I wanna go back, Penny, because I want everybody to understand that she's living in a house with family members. So when she was 10 years old, she had 5 family members that were assaulting her over and over up until she was 18. Well, 2 weeks before she turned 18. But then she goes to the next family, is downstairs, and then these people gang rape. What is it like? That night was 2 that night.
It was 2, yeah.
Gang rape. So let me ask you a question. During your time from 2018, you have a regular relationship with a boy that wasn't molestation or rape?
When I was a child, or even till now?
No, even through those years, as you being a teenager, being in
I
high school.
I never had a relationship in high school. There was many people that I thought were cute. I actually got bullied because we were poor. I had, dirty clothes. There was many times teachers had said, not out of meanness, but hey, let's go to the bathroom, let's clean you up. There was times that I was on a basketball team, but that wasn't good enough. I was fat. I had acne. I got along with everybody. I talked to everybody, but I also got bullied by everybody. So there was never an opportunity to me to even be close to anybody or feel like I could even be close to anybody. And I still struggle with that today because it's a
one
fear
of those
mine.
people. One of those people that you were being molested by was your stepdad.
Yes.
Yeah. The man that was married to your mother.
Yes.
How did that affect your relationship with your mom?
For years, we didn't have a relationship. And I think, to be honest, I think the only reason we really have a relationship now is because 5 years ago, I found out I had colon cancer. And now it's metastasized to my liver. So it took me getting sick for mom to step up and say, hey, I'm going to take care of you. And I know that I said I didn't want to talk about my mom, but I do want to say too that I had a conversation with her a couple of weeks ago and found out that my mom, and I had heard stuff over the years, but never was confirmed, but something happened to her when she was a kid too. And everybody's told what happens in your house doesn't come out. So she doesn't talk about that time because it was worse back then, but I don't want the cycle to continue. I don't want girls to think that we have to live in that or that they have to live in that and deal with that because your self-worth, it affects your whole life. I could have went to alcohol and drugs and it was the grace of God that I didn't. And I didn't know him at the time. I remember one time I was 19 and I sat down beside my car outside and I had a knife and I was ready to slice. I had the knife there and I was very close. And somebody, and it wasn't a person, it was a spirit, came from behind me and just held me. And To this
Oh,
day, I still think it was God, and I didn't know him at the time. And I
oh,
dropped that knife, and I cried, and I cried. And I knew that I wasn't going to let it define me. I just had to get through it. I had to figure out how to heal myself at a certain point in time. I even went to Detroit to a shelter just to get away from it all, just to figure out what was going to happen in my life. Where was I going to go? And I think at that time I was 21.
so did you ever confront these people, these family members? Like, because I mean, you're not just talking about strangers that were molesting you. We're talking about family, people that's your blood, that's supposed to look out for you. Did you ever confront them, or did anyone in the family ever confront them? Did they ever go to jail? Like, what became of it?
So nobody ever went to jail. My stepdad night was cured. Probably about 10 years ago, he did catch me in the garage, and he did apologize. He said, "I'm so sorry for what I did to you when you were a kid." And I too have learned to forgive, because that was the only way I could
That's
get
right.
through.
That's right.
My oldest cousin, last year, he killed himself. He was finally caught for messing with 2 girls under the age of 3, and he shot himself. And I posted something on Facebook, nothing ugly, just saying, I don't have compassion, because I was asked if I wanted to go to the funeral, and I was like, why would you ask me that? But I did post something on Facebook and found out that I was probably the first of 9. And I feel like if somebody would have been there to protect me, then those other 8 girls, it wouldn't have happened to them. Not by him anyway.
So
m-
I want to
my-
I want to talk about that, because that's very important, guys. She wasn't the only one. That's why we have to talk.
yes,
She was the 9. You were one of the 9.
I think I was the first of
The
the
first
9.
of the 9. First of the 9. And he ended up killing himself because he just couldn't. When you hear about what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein and what's all over the news right now, how does that make you feel? Does that trigger you in any kind of way, Penny, when you hear all this stuff?
I'm going to be honest, and I don't watch the news, and I try to stay away from public TV, because I can't watch the news without breaking down in tears.
Gotcha.
Happen in this world, but all we see is bad stuff. And the bad stuff that I see just hurts my heart so much. I can't watch it. And I like that I pick and choose what I can watch. And that's by not watching public TV. So I have
think that
no
is so
idea.
smart. I think that is so smart, because I go through a lot just watching the news. It's so heart-wrenching, especially when it's children, these young women that were molested by these wealthy men. And who's going to believe them?
Right.
Because I mean, you guys, when you have any of you ever felt like when you were telling your story that the people that were receiving your story didn't believe you? Have you ever felt that?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was called a liar. I was told that I was just doing it to get attention. At 45, when I finally decided that I wasn't going to allow it to stick in the past anymore, I was told that my abuse was my fault because I left the safety of my home that was my parents, and that was the exact place where it all started. It just, yeah, it gets rough.
Yeah.
And
Wow, I'm
my
so sorry.
and to answer your question, my oldest brother, still to this day, I am the piece of crap. And I have been over to my mom's house for holidays, and he starts stuff with me just so I leave, because I'm not going to deal with it. But it's been, I don't get chosen first ever. It's not that thing. And I know it sounds so crazy, but for once, I'd like somebody to say, "Hey, why don't you keep your mouth shut? And she's going to stay here and you can leave for once." But no, that's not the way it is. It's, we know she's going to get upset and leave, and then we'll just blame it all on her if she wouldn't have said something wrong. Because he purposely says something, and I'll stick my, Like, for instance, I told you I have stage 4 cancer. He found out he had stomach cancer last year. Well, I'm stupid now because I'm not going to the same oncologist that he goes to. And why would I choose to go to Houston versus staying where I'm at? So it's stuff that I constantly have to deal with. No, let me rephrase that. It's something I choose not to deal with. So those couple times that we do see each other a year, and I get upset, yes, I leave because, I used to send them texts a couple times a year telling them, hey, I love you. You're my brother. I love you. And then when I got cancer and stuff, I was like, why do I do that? They don't reciprocate that. I just always wanted my daughters to have a family, uncles that care about them, take them places, and that never happened, but part of that was I kind of protected them from them too. I wouldn't let them go to my mom's. That's where everybody always was, is my mom's. They weren't allowed to go over there unless I was there, but they turned it around and wouldn't let their kids come see me either. And now that most of the kids are in, over 18, I get phone calls and they're like, Aunt Penny, this is what we've heard. Did this really happen? Absolutely. Well, we're told you're just a fat liar, that you've lied about it all. And that they've been told all their lives. Yeah. And as I was trying to protect my kids, they were being told that they weren't allowed to be around me. I was in a biracial relationship, and then it became about the Black people, and it's always been something. And now we just found out my mom has breast cancer and my brother has stomach cancer. My girls don't. I think everybody expects them to have a different reaction, but they didn't cry. I cried, but you just don't have that relationship because that's a whole big story all in itself too, the way they were treated and stuff like that. Having a biracial children really in this family was not a good idea, but I made it. I made them my priority.
They gave you hell about that too.
Yes.
So I know we talked about this, but can you tell everybody what happened to your daughter?
So my daughter, I protected my kids. I wouldn't let them go to my parents unless I was there. I wouldn't let them go to people's houses without knowing who they were. She was in 6th grade and she was molested by another student in her school. We found out through an English paper she had written. And when I found out about it, I asked her if it was true. And she said, yes, ma'am. I said, first and foremost, this isn't your fault. Because when I came out, I was told it could have been worse. And I didn't want her to ever think like that. So I told her it wasn't her fault. I stayed with her every step of the way. We made decisions together because I wanted her to feel like she had control of the situation. So we pressed charges. We went to the news. I was on channel 11 News about the situation. The school didn't do what they were supposed to do. It gets all the way to the DA and it gets thrown out because the molester, his father, was the head of the crimes department at Baytown, Texas. So there was never no justice for my daughter, but they continued to bully her because it wasn't just her. It had happened to 5 other girls, but because she wouldn't change her story, then she started getting bullied because everybody liked this kid.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Penny. And I want to stay in touch with you because you did mention that you have cancer. And is it stage 4 cancer? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I am believing that there is a God and that God is able. Do you believe with me? Do we all believe?
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
All right.
Absolutely.
You look great.
You'll be
And
seeing her in September because she is actually.
I know. I can't wait. She's going to be.
And my daughter. And my daughter was crowned last year. So
she's actually one of the ones staying the night before for some of the queens. So you will actually get to see her Friday night if you manage to come in on Friday. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Yeah. Well, I want to definitely get over to Misha, guys, so we can get to her story. Misha.
Hello.
Thank you so much for patiently waiting. Because
Yes.
I definitely wanted to talk about your story. 2015.
Yes.
That's when you met your abuser. And it's weird. She posted something on Facebook, and that's how you got his attention. Tell us about that.
I had just had back surgery. We had met while I was working at a liquor store. We had exchanged numbers and socials, but nothing special. I had posted on Facebook that I just had back surgery and I was struggling and I needed a little help because my grandma had just left. She stayed the first 2 weeks with me. And he popped up in my inbox and he was like, if you ever need anything, just let me know. You shouldn't have to, do this by yourself. So I took him up on the offer because I needed to get the money order for my rent originally. So he was willing to come get me, take me to get my money order, take me to drop it off. He had took me to, to the grocery store to get the little stuff that I needed for the house. And he seemed like he had it together. He had a job, he had his own car. He was really trying to, it seemed like, do something with his life.
Right.
That was a facade. Once he got in good with me and the kids, I noticed some changes, but I just thought it was because I had stupidly let him move in after a couple of months. I just thought it was two different personalities under one. We've got to figure some stuff out. I noticed looking back that the big change was after he met my family on the 4th of July.
Okay.
I think he thought he was in good. I've met her family.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
Anybody
in
in
there
my
now.
yes,
Yeah.
like I'm in there. I ain't going anywhere. But
Yeah.
anybody in my family would tell you I don't bring a lot of people around that I talk to. I'm not big on that. So they've only met like 3 people and I'm 38. So I'm very picky and choosy who I bring around my family. And I brought him around. And then it almost seemed like overnight he changed. I went back to school to get my bachelor's in criminal justice. And he got mad because I got my loan disbursement money and I didn't get him any of it.
Oh, that part right there. Let's stop right there. Okay. I think out of all your story, that's the part that irked me the most. Because this is a grown man getting mad about somebody else's money.
Yes.
And he says, well, all the stuff I do around here, you can't break me off a little something, something. What? What was he doing for money? What did he have a job?
Yes, he did have a job and he was also hustling on the side.
Okay.
So I never asked him for anything. I paid my own bills because my mom raised me to never be dependent on a man. So
Amen.
I was never looking at him to pay any of my bills. Like I still paid those on my own.
Okay.
So it was confusing when he would say, all I do for you in this household and your kids. Oh, you take my kids to the store and you get them some snacks after they get out of school. Big whoop. You want a cookie?
I know.
Like come, you don't buy clothes, you don't buy shoes.
Even a light bill. How about that?
Thank you.
You
like
rent 1 month.
You're not doing that.
Yeah, he paid the cable bill, right, Misha?
Yes, because I had basic cable because it was just me and my boys. I just needed to make sure they had cartoons and I could watch Lifetime Movie Network and the Hallmark Channel and Investigation, the ID channel. I just don't understand how I allowed him to get away with some of the mess that he got away with, and I like those crime shows way too much.
Okay.
But he paid the cable bill simply because he wanted a higher package for the sports,
and that was all he contributed to the household.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you didn't give him money. How did he respond to it?
That's when he started getting violent and very angry. One night, there was an argument about giving him some money. He said that he needed it because he had made a bad deal. And I said, I don't have anything for you. I had money, but I had nothing for him. I'm like, I don't have any money. I I helped my peoples out. I got my kids this, I got myself this, I got the car worked on. I paid my rent up, my gas up, my lights up. I paid my rent up for like 6 months, 7 months. So I didn't have to worry about it. And I got treated like a Raggedy Ann doll for hours, being thrown around my house from the kitchen,
Jesus Christ.
dining room, the room, being kicked, punched. Finally, he had calmed down for a second. I called his brother and I'm like, you need to come get your brother. Come get him and all of his stuff. I'm done. Like in that moment, like I was done. So his brother and his brother's wife came over. They gathered him and his stuff up. And as they were doing that, I was taking the house key off the key ring. I watched as they left. A couple hours later, I'm hearing, Misha, Misha. I look out my window. This man is pissy drunk and he is peeing on himself in the middle of the street. My cars are driving by and he is yelling my name.
Oh.
I am now embarrassed because it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and like I'm seeing the lights in people's houses flick on across the street. And I'm just like, oh my God, shut up. Just go. And I'm just looking out the window at this pathetic, pitiful looking man. Like you just look sad. And I felt bad for a slight second. And I let him back in.
He promised never do that again, right?
Yes, but it was only for the one night. And then after me and my mom got into it, and behind him, I then had him leave for like 4 or 5 days. It was somewhere around there. And then he was the, oh, baby, please. Oh, baby,
now, let's talk about mom. You said because your mom had a strange relationship. Tell us about that relationship.
So my feelings was really hurt around the time that I had my back surgery because I really wanted my mom. Yeah. Hold on one second.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes this gets a little challenging, guys, right? We just showing you love. Right.
I really wanted my mom. I am mama's baby. I am 38 and I call my mom mommy, and I wish somebody would say something to me.
I know, right?
But I just wanted my mom, and she was busy working, and it just felt like she didn't have any time for me. And he used that as a way to wiggle in. Your mom doesn't even care about you. I'm the only one here helping you through your surgery and getting you back on track. Nobody else is here. Your grandma only stayed 2 weeks and then she left you. You can't even get your mom or your sister or anybody to come over here and help you. I'm the only one who took on the role of coming to help you. So I'm the only one that loves you. And I believed it. So the day after he jumped on me, my mom came over with the police to do a wellness check. My mom and the police are outside banging on the door. And at first I didn't hear her because I was asleep. And then I started hearing banging in my sleep and I wake up. And I've got him laying next to me, but his arm is across me and he's like holding me so I can't really move. But I find myself getting angrier and angrier because, Mom, all of a sudden you found time to come here now. But when I really wanted you and needed you, and I wouldn't probably even be in this situation if you would have just came. Now you're here. Please go away. I don't want to talk to you right now, Mom. Like me and my mom got into an argument and the police were just dumbfounded. I was in a very weird and confused place. Did my mom deserve that? No.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, you were dealing with something. You had this man you didn't want there, but you allowed him to be there because you felt like he loved you. Yeah. And Mom, you were angry with Mom. Did you and Mom ever fix that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, we did.
Did y'all fix that? Did you guys finally meet one day? And
I mean, my mom never gave up on me. It was more so I just had to get out of my own stubborn kind of a way and just go to my mom. And we sat and talked. And, she forgave me. And in a weird way, like I had to kind of forgive her. Because like I said, like I was angry because I wanted my mom when I needed her the most. And it just felt like I didn't have her. And then it just gave that snake that entryway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he slithered through. You know,
Yes.
I want to say, because you're old enough to be my daughter, like you could be my child, like for real. And I say that sometimes parents, we don't do everything. And we don't, because sometimes we weren't taught. Sometimes we are doing all what we know. And I just want to say that on behalf of mom, that she just did what she knew, you know, and of course she loves you.
Yes.
So now you're with this man and your children are witnessing all this abuse that's
Yes.
going on. Your son, you have sons, right?
Yes.
And
Yes,
they
they
saw.
are.
And what did they say when they would see their mom being?
Did it freeze?
I think she was trying to say, though, how did the boys react? What did they say when that happened?
One time, my oldest son tried to run in and protect me. He had a knife in his hand. And I had to quickly grab my baby and swing him around. Because
Okay, I want to go back because we were not there, guys. Start back from what with the boys when your boys would see you being beaten. Start there because this was not showing anything. I don't want anybody to miss it.
Okay. At first, they stayed in the room. I just told them to stay in the room. Do not come out. Then as it got worse, my boys started coming out of their rooms and trying to help me. I feel bad that my oldest felt like he had to do that. But my oldest grabbed a knife and attempted to stab him. And as he was running into the room, I grabbed my son and swung him around and then got the knife out of his hand. And I put him behind me and I kind of like dropped the knife and kind of kicked it under the bed because I didn't want him to see it because I was so scared of like what his reaction was going to be.
Right.
But most of the time I tried to keep my boys in their room until I could no longer shield them from it.
So you didn't want them to see it, but what would you say? Because there are people that are in the same situation as you and their kids are witnessing this. How hard was that to know that they were basically becoming victims and they had nothing they could say about it because they were watching you?
Yes.
Like what would you say to parents, mothers who are being beaten in front of their children?
Leave. It's not worth your kids hearing. It's not worth them going through. My kids had to go through therapy and counseling to really help them on what they were seeing, what they were hearing throughout the phase of being with that man.
Were you ever concerned that the kids might tell somebody?
No.
Did they ever tell somebody?
Their friends.
They did tell their friends. And the reason I'm asking is because, like with Penny in her situation, CPS was involved. And I know that kids talking, they tell their friends tell their parents, or they may tell a teacher or something. Did you ever have a situation with CPS getting involved with your family?
Once, but it wasn't for domestic violence. They were told that I had no food in my house, and CPS just popped up and said, we got a call that you have no food in your house.
Yeah.
And I walked them to my kitchen, to my fully stocked freezer, refrigerator, cabinets. All I do is cook. Like,
right.
That's all I do is cook. Like, I am food motivated. I ain't got no food in my house. It was the lie that they said about me, of all people. Of all things you could have said, it was I didn't have any food in the house.
Yeah, I mean, they can come out for any reason. People can call. It's a very flawed system, I think. And then when they need to get involved, they don't. Yes. Or like in Penny's case, they close the case when clearly you have a child that's being raped every day.
Yeah.
So it's definitely flawed. So This went on for how long, Misha, with this man beating you?
Till 2017, when I
And then,
finally got away.
so talk to us about that, because you had a plan, and this is what's important, guys. I want y'all to follow her because she realized I need a plan.
Yes.
So where did that thought come from, and who did you reach out to help you come up with a plan?
So I was trying to move state. That was my all-time end goal. So I used my grandma's friend as my lie. And my grandma was in on it because I would talk about it on the speakerphone. So he fell for me going to Nevada to help my grandma's friend because she was old and sick. And it was working. I was going back and forth and I was getting everything situated. And I forgot a piece of paper in one of my bags and he found out. And he ruined my housing in Nevada.
How did he ruin your housing? How did he do that?
He called down there and said that I was selling drugs out of my house.
Oh my God.
And I wasn't even living there yet. Like the only thing that was in the apartment was a welcome packet. I signed my lease and literally hopped on a plane and came back home. And I didn't have a plate, a spoon, a knife, a fork, a cup, no clothes, no furniture.
They evicted you? They canceled your.
I had Section 8 at the time.
Oh, you're Section 8.
Yes.
Without any proof, they just kicked you off the program.
Yep. And then went out down there with the apartment getting raided, the doors getting kicked in. They evicted me, which affects your Section 8 as well. So
of course. Yeah, you lost the benefits.
Yes.
So now you're stuck. You're still in the place where you were with him. So now what? What happened?
I was stuck in this house with him. It was almost daily, like I was going through stuff with him. He accused me of sleeping with one of his nephews. Which one, I don't know. He never had a name. He had 3 of them living there, and they all had living girlfriends. So how was I cheated with one of your nephews? And when his nephews would hear it, they would look like kind of crazy at him, like, "Unc, you're tripping." But none of them ever spoke up, but you could just read their face, but none of them ever verbally said anything.
And you were living with all these men and they wanted you to buy food for everybody. Tell us about that.
So I'm driving Lyft, and I'm making really good money. And I come in the house and I have like food for my kids and myself. And he goes, we're a family around here. We help. So when you're feeding them, you need to feed us too. I'm not feeding 4 grown men.
I know that's right.
I got 2 children and that's it. And that would turn into daily fights.
So he would beat you up because you didn't want to take care of everybody in the house. So then you start feeding your kids in the car before you would go inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes that would make him mad, especially like if he was too drunk to be able to drive and go get himself something to eat. And he'd be like, "Oh, you already fed them kids in the car. Well, I need some food and I can't drive. I'm just too drunk." And I was just like, please drive, go, and then hit a pole on the way.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. Did you ever wish he was dead, that he would just die?
Yes. At that point, it would be easier if he was just I could get away easier.
Did you want to kill him, or you just wanted him to just die? Because it's normal for you to think about poisoning.
There was times.
I mean, I'm glad you didn't, but I'm just saying it's normal that you would think that.
I have a very creative mind.
Yeah, right? How to Get Away with Murder. Starring Misha Bird. Yeah. So, so tell me, when you did try again, tell us about that, because this time you somewhat succeeded, but tell us how you had to try again when the apartment didn't fail.
So the night before I decided to leave, it was what happened is what made me go, okay, Misha, you gotta go. I'm asleep in the bed and he kept me inside. So that way, like if I moved around, like he could feel. Whenever I did get out the bed, like I would purposely like crawl over him to make sure he knew I was getting out of the bed so he didn't think I was sneaking. And then I would turn every light on. I'd leave the bedroom door open just so he knew, like, you're tripping. Like, you need to lay off the booger sugar and you'll be okay, sir.
Did you say booger sugar?
Yes, I did.
Booger sugar. Am I the only one that does? What is?
I have never heard that, but everybody else is laughing, and it sounds really funny. I'm curious too.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, what is booger sugar? I feel so dumb.
What was the name of that? Cocaine is a hell of a drug, you know.
Oh, cocaine.
Yes. But I was trying to be social media friendly. But
okay.
Like if you laid off of that, like maybe you could really think clearly, because your allegations are crazy. So he woke me up out of my sleep and he goes, "You just came out of the room with one of my nephews." I literally had not been out the bed. And I said, "You're tripping. I haven't been out the bed." He's standing over me and he punches me dead in my face. Ugh. I feel like this burning sensation all through my face. I feel like this warmness running down my face and I'm screaming, "You broke my nose. You broke my nose." He says, "You're lying." So I jump out the bed and I flick the light on and I stand like just blood rushing down my face, on my shirt. And I'm trying to find something to clean it up. And he's tugging at my clothes and he's kissing on me. And then he pushes me on the bed. And he rapes me. Even though I'm telling him no. And I'm like trying to fight him off. But then I start like feeling like he's going to hit me again. So I just cave. I just let him finish doing what he needs to do. And I'm just like, do what you need to do. It is what it is at this point. Like, just don't hit me no more. He finishes and I throw my clothes back on, like my bottoms. And my nose is still actively bleeding while he's raping me. My son Davius was up and he heard everything and he followed me into the bathroom. And here I stand with blood just rushing down my face and on my shirt. He goes, "Mom, are you okay?" I said, "We're leaving. I can't do this anymore. We're leaving." It was the look in my son's face. That's right. And he said, "Do you promise, Mom?" I said, "Yeah, I promise." I didn't go to sleep at all that night. I put him on the bus. I went to the ER, got checked out. They taped up my nose. They taped up my ribs because my ribs were fractured as well. I had sustained a number of injuries, fractured eye socket over the time. And I sat at a lake in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. And I just sat there for hours and I had Netflix playing on my phone while I'm waiting for my kids to get out of school because I'm scared to go home. Because I had dubbed him my boogeyman. That was my real life boogeyman. So then my son calls me on his phone. I made sure they had phones, like if anything was to happen to me, because I thought I was going to die in that house. I didn't think I was going to make it out because like the abuse, like it started in private and it was in front of my kids and then it was in front of his family. And then when I finally went home, the kids were pulling up and I swear God was on my side that day because he was leaving with his friend. They was finna go re-up because they hustled together. And he walked over to my car like nothing was like wrong. And he kissed me on my cheek and he goes, "I love you." And I'm like, "I love you too." Just don't realize that I'm trying to get away. My stuff had already been packed from like a couple days beforehand. When he had put his hands on me in front of his nephews and nobody batted an eye. No one tried to help. No one tried to stop. So I run in the house. We grab all of our stuff, throw it in my car. I use every condiment in the house to squirt all over that room, his clothes, all of his Jordans, his Nikes. Everything was destroyed by the time I walked out that room. You destroyed my life. You destroyed my smile. Now I'm finna destroy everything you own as I walk out. Like, I really wanted to do like some Angela Bassett, set some stuff ablaze. Like, I really wanted to, like, but I was like, you're gonna go to jail. Like, you're gonna go to jail if you do that. Like, don't do it, Misha. Don't do it. So I just
That is TV. Yeah.
Okay. So I got away, and kind of, sort of, but I stayed progressing to get away from him. He had called my son's phone after like a week, and I had been staying there at the extended stay. But he had heard me tell my mom, my grandma, my aunt, my sister, I'm at the extended stay in Maple Grove. That's where I'm at. I'm at the extended stay. So he calls my son's phone, and he was like, I want to bring you guys some ice cream. I miss you. Where are you? And he goes, we're at the extended stay in Maple Grove.
He didn't know. Oh, baby, poor baby.
So we're outside and we're walking the dog, and he pulls in, and I spot the car, and I'm looking, and I'm frantically like, is that him? Is that him? Is that him? I look at the license plate, and I'm like, it's him. Before I can get to the door, he's out of his car, and he's snatching me, and he's just punching on me, and he's smacking on me, and he's flailing me around in front of guests, my kids. Like, he no longer cares. The police were called, but he was already gone. The hotel manager told me if I had one more call, she didn't care, like, it was DV, like, she did not care, but she said if I had one more call to the hotel, she was gonna put me out. The lady police officer came on her own free will just to see if I needed anything, and she put me out. So then I started hotel hopping because he kept finding me. Tried running me over with his car. He tried stabbing me. I just knew my mom was going to have to bury me. Like, I just knew. So I put like up a good fight, and I didn't stop. And I did it for my kids, and I did it for my mom because I didn't want to hurt my mom, and my mom burying her oldest. And now she's got to raise my kids. Like, but in 2019, I moved into my place. I hopped around for a while, and I moved anywhere, depending on where you are in Minneapolis, 30 to 45 minutes away from the cities. And this is where I've been. And this is where I've become comfortable.
Thank God. You feel safe now, Misha.
Yes. It took a lot. It took a lot to go into the cities, though. Like, I would get real bad anxiety. Like, I couldn't stay in there in the cities long. And if I did, I would stay in my mom's house, and I wouldn't come out unless I was getting in my car to come back home.
Yeah, I bet. Where is he now?
The state where, I don't know. Either Ohio or Mississippi, where he's from.
How do you keep yourself from being found?
I just don't try to go in contact with anybody that knows him. I don't really post like my kids in their sports of where they're at. And if I do, it's privated to like only certain people to see it.
So you have a very sheltered life now because of this man. Is there a way to get some kind of protection? Like, how does this work? And I'm talking to like everybody here. Like, how does this work?
I'm getting me a conceal and carry. I don't want to live in fear anymore. I'm getting me my conceal and carry. I feel like the best thing I can do as a mother of 3 is to be able to protect me and my family. So if I have the right to have it, I'm going to bear it.
I'll be honest with you, Ella. I don't think there ever really has come to an immediate answer or solution to that. As Misha was sharing her story, it reminded me of a woman that Yumika Harmon helped me with, that was chased down and was thrown around and beaten and harassed and steadily pursued by her husband. And she went into the police department, and they couldn't do anything. All she could do was file a report. My mother was in the living room with me when I had that phone call. My mother heard that scream, and all my mom could say was, in 50 years, they have not fixed this. My mom ran for 10 years with us before she felt safe.
What? my God. So what do we have to do to get this stuff? Because there's an election coming up. We have politicians that are out here, and nobody's talking about domestic violence. As a matter of fact, I was telling you guys before the show where this current administration is trying to keep those funds from being brought out. Okay, the administration is trying to. Um, they don't want domestic violence programs funded.
Well,
Okay,
I know
this
that
is a
I said I
problem.
don't listen to the news, but didn't he just pardon somebody that was caught? Or isn't it word that he's going to pardon somebody that was caught on an island doing all this stuff to children,
Yeah.
women, men?
Well,
And now
that
there's
guy,
talk of him being pardoned?
yeah, Jeffrey Epstein is dead. He supposedly killed himself
Oh,
allegedly, killed
that's
himself
not
in
what I was
prison.
talking about.
But Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend, that's the one. Oh, are you talking about P. Diddy?
I am.
Sean, ah, that's the one you're talking about. Yeah.
That's a
Well,
rough one. That's still, I mean, I had to stop, I had to get away from it because I
I
was
bet.
reading everything
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then to hear all the other people that were involved, and I know we don't hear the whole story and we probably never will. However, how can you pardon somebody that's been found to do all those things that he's done? And the women that have stepped up and the children that have stepped up that they've ruined their lives.
Yeah.
There's no protection. The government has to do something because
I
it's
agree.
just getting worse.
It's getting worse. It is. Guys, we are almost out of time. Remember, I said that I want to make sure that we can broadcast this show tomorrow. I can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate you for being here on the Ella Johnson Show to share your stories. I hope that you guys feel okay with how you've presented your story. But if you ever want to come back, I am here. But I will be with you, Wendy and Penny. Hopefully, you guys will come as well. But September 27th, the Butterfly Beauty Pageant in Texas. Is it Houston?
It's
Yes.
in Kima.
Houston? Kima, Texas. Is that close to Houston?
It is.
Okay. I'll be there. We're going to be live. The Ella Johnson Show is. But listen, guys, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. And I will see you guys next time. I'm trying to see, I was trying to see, make sure I don't have any more comments. Because I want to make sure that we get our comments. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you. Share the broadcast. We're going to rebroadcast on tomorrow. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.